Welcome to the John 3:16 Stories of Hope podcast, where we talk to people who have overcome addiction and alcoholism at John 3:16 Ministries. I'm your host, Lisa Fisher. Now let's hear another inspiring story from a resident or graduate of John 3:16 Ministries. All right, welcome back to the podcast. Who is up to the mic right now?
My name's Danny Bess with John 3:16 Ministries.
Danny Bess, where are you from?
From Greenwood, Mississippi.
I know Greenwood, Mississippi.
You do?
I sure do. Been to the cooking class there. And I grew up in a little town, southeast Arkansas. We had to drive to Greenville for the good mayonnaise. I was from Dermont.
Okay. I moved to Mississippi, Greenwood, Grenada, Mississippi in the early 90s from Los Angeles, California. Born and raised in Los Angeles. Moved to Greenwood, Grenada, Mississippi, got married, had kids, and never went back to California. So that's kind of how I got to Mississippi. Had an uncle who owned a heating and air business, and wasn't doing anything with my life, doing drugs, alcohol, just kind of quit college. And he called me one day. He'd been in AA, been sober 4 years. He said, "Hey, you want to change your life?" And I said, "Well, yeah, why not? I mean, something's got to be better than what I'm doing." So I moved from California to Mississippi, and by doing that, got married, had kids, but of course, continued to keep doing drugs and alcohol. So fast forward that years later.
Okay. So your drug abuse and alcohol misuse began not in the South, but in the West.
No, started when I was 13 years old. I can remember drinking alcohol, going to a skating rink, and I remember it because, man, I got drunk and man, I hate to, it's kind of a crazy story. I got drunk and I peed all over myself and I messed my pants and I got arrested and
At
my mom had
13?
at 13 and
Wow.
I tell everybody ever since that day, I've been crapping all over people, messing up people's lives, just because of drinking, wanting to be cool, the things you do when you're a kid. California is a little different. My mom and dad love them, wonderful people, but it was sociably acceptable if your kids drank, they didn't have a problem with it. It's a little different back here in the South, which is good. It really is. People don't realize that California is a little more, I don't want to say
Liberal.
yeah,
I say liberal.
liberal. Yes, I'm going to say liberal. They just
Say it.
and then you come to the South, Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee, just down here in the South, it's more back roots, Bible Belt, mother and a father raising their
Jesus is
kids.
Lord over here.
Jesus is Lord. Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah.
He is Lord.
So you can say that. So at 13, do you think it whet your appetite for alcohol abuse at that point? Do you feel like I was an addict? I was an alcoholic. The way, to pee on yourself, and to get arrested, that's what people do in their 20s and 30s, not at 13.
I got an uncle that's had battled alcoholism. Grandpa did the same thing. So genetically, it might have been there. I don't know. I just know that at 13, I wanted to be the center of attention in everything in my life. If I did something, I wanted to go to be the best. Sports, drinking, partying, all that. I wanted to be the best.
So your parents weren't surprised by this incident, even though the police got involved?
No.
You said it was socially acceptable, but they didn't reprimand you. They
No.
didn't say, "Sheesh, this Danny's a good kid, but we may have a problem with drinking."
No, because
Right.
when I was 18, 17, I got told playing baseball, I had scholarship offers, playing football, baseball, I mean, whole life ahead of me. And the baseball coach told me, "Hey, if you go to this party Saturday night, we're going to be kicked off the team." Well, my whole life, I've never faced any consequences, which never really never faced consequences. Just did what I wanted to do. And then so when I went to the party, got kicked off the baseball team. But, you know, back then they're picking on me. It's poor me.
You were
I
the
felt
victim.
victim. Yeah. Telling mom and dad are like, well, they shouldn't have kicked you off the team. You're not a bad person, but
Oh my
but
gosh. But you were breaking the law. I mean, did
right,
mom and dad know you were breaking it was a crime?
yeah. Uh, they didn't see it that way. That's the problem. It's a lot of people. They'll if mom and dad say it's okay, it's not breaking the law, but it's still breaking the law. So I don't.
Where in LA were you?
San Gabriel Valley, West Covina,
Yeah,
California.
I know exactly
You
where that is. Yeah.
okay?
It's a really beautiful part of the world, and they're not as crazy there.
No,
Is
n-
there are
they.
families. It's kind of family oriented. Actually, if you go a little further east to the foot of the mountains, and I'm trying to think of the little towns that are there.
I had my mom and dad. My dad when they got divorced at an early age, but my dad lives in Hesperia, which was a high desert. My mom and them moved
Yeah.
to Victorville. I got a brother still who lives in Simi Valley, works for Disney Studios,
Hmm.
and the thing about him, he's a year older than me, and he never got into drugs or alcohol.
Is that
Went to
right?
college,
Yeah.
did great, just black
Okay.
sheep of the family.
So
Yeah,
you are no, you're God's trophy.
yeah,
God's grace of trophy. His mercy. I mean, we're all a representation of his mercy. I was trying to think of something visual. So 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, you're drinking a lot. When did you introduce drugs into your life?
yes. When I got 17 years old, started going to rave parties in California, and of course, it's ecstasy,
Right.
and more ecstasy. And of course, it was a cool thing to do. The people I hung out with, would go on, and it wasn't every day, but it's still Friday and
Now,
Saturday
wasn't it
night.
someone told me once it was legal for a minute, and that it
Not,
was at
it's,
or it was at parties, it was introduced, passed around. I don't have my
yeah,
ear to the ground anymore, but it was everywhere.
yeah, and it was back in the late 80s, early
90s. Yeah,
90s. It
90s,
was,
right.
it was everywhere. Yes.
Crazy. Okay, so, there's probably a addictive component to it. I mean, it or maybe not physiological, but psychological. You had to have it, or you felt like you had to have it. And then was it a gateway for you to then try other things?
Yes, yes. Got into powdered cocaine and
Wow.
crystal meth and,
Oh,
of course, crack cocaine. And it's just once you start one,
yeah.
if you've got the addictive personality, it's going to take you and go and go and go until something stops you. And I'll be the first to tell you, I've had tons of people, family members, friends, try to help me through the years. And I just the thing is, guys who are drug addicts and alcoholics, and maybe ladies too. I'm gonna speak for the men only. We always think we're different. I always think that, man, I'm just not like that. I can stop anytime I want to. I'm not gonna
I
do
can
this
beat it.
one.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna beat it one day. You
Mm.
never realize that no, you'll never beat it.
Now, tell me, how old were you then when you moved to Mississippi?
26. 26.
So you'd seen a lot of drugs, a lot of darkness. Los
Yes.
Angeles is a dark city,
Well, it's
spiritually.
there's a ton of stuff going on. There's always some club to go to. There's the
Yeah.
mountains, there's the beach, there's the
Yeah.
baseball games. There's just for a kid growing up, man, I loved it because there's always something to do. But as a f- now as an older man and a father and with grandkids,
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to raise my kids in
No.
California. I love Arkansas. I love Mississippi. My uncle, when I first moved to Mississippi, he was like, "Man, it's like 20 years behind the times compared to where you came from." And I used to think, "Gosh, they really are 20 years behind time." And it bothered me, but looking back, I'm like, "Praise God, they're
I
20
know.
years behind the
I know.
times. They're more, well, God first,
Yeah.
prayer in
Right.
schools, just
Right.
things that we used to have that we don't have as much anymore."
Now, tell me, are you a resident there at John 3?
July 4th of 2021, I came here, became a resident.
Wow.
I've been here ever since. I became an instructor. Of course, I was 51 when I got in, Lisa, and
Wow.
the thing was, I've been to AA, I've been to NA, I've had dry times in AA. I was sober 5 years, clean and sober 5 years, and I'll say this to you, AA is not a bad thing. It just didn't work for me because I didn't do what they
Pro
told
the
suggested to do, the
program.
program,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
But, I just know that when I got here to John 3, that I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I was sick and tired of wearing a mask. I sat in AA for years saying I was happy being sober and clean, and I wasn't. And when I came here to John 3, I'll be honest with you, I lied on my interview to get in because they said, "Do you believe Jesus can heal you?" And I said, "Well, yes, yes," but I was going to be homeless. Truth was, I didn't want to be homeless. But the truth is, Jesus can heal you. He can change lives. And when I finally met him and realized he was real, I said, Lord, when I asked Jesus into my life, I said, Lord, please, if you're real, I'll be real with you. I'm not going to say I believe in you if you're not real, but please be real. I need your help. Man, he showed out in so many different ways to be real. I, I, I tell the guys all the time here, it's like, man, the thing is, you got to take off that mask. You just got to say, Lord, I want you to be real. And then he'll do the rest. He really will. Thing is, you couldn't have convinced me that years ago. I went to church. I went to AA. I was trying to do the right thing, be a good guy and or a good father or a good husband. And man, I just always failed. And this was the one thing in my life I was like, man, I'm 51. I got nothing else left to try. If he's not real, I don't hate to say it, like if he's not real, I'm screwed. Because I tried everything else. I thought, man, if he's not real, I'm screwed the rest of my life. I had misery. It ended up being he is real. He's more real today than he's ever been. Things I think about, and I try to tell the guys all the time, is like, man, because this is how the Lord reveals himself to me. Because I'm one of those analytic guys. I love to think. I love to talk. I love science. And I thought, man, if it really was a fake, the Bible and him coming out of that grave and dying on the cross, and let's just say that it was all a fake. Even it being a fake, look at all the lives it's changed.
Yeah.
Look at the
Yeah.
lives it's changing here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
isn't it being a fake better than what I was doing
Hmm.
before I got there? I was like, man, you got to be crazy. And then he started revealing more things. Because I love science and you know, the the Old Testament where God commanded the Israelites to circumcise their baby on the eighth day. I'm sitting there thinking, why eight? Why not one, two, three, four, five? Well, I finally found it. Science proves that a baby's coagulating or whatever to the
Uh-huh.
blood
Uh-huh.
is the most it'll ever be on
Uh-huh.
day eight. Now, they didn't know that back
I
thousands of
know.
years ago,
Mm.
but God did. And so those were the kind of things that he just showed me that's like, hey, I am real. I am real. You're not, you got to believe first, and then I'll show you everything, how real I am. And there was just things like that. I'm not even talking about restoration of family and stuff because he's already done all that. He will do all that. But I know I wanted him to be so real in my life that just as real as me and you talking to each other,
Mhm.
and that's what he is. It's not fake. What we do
Mm-mm.
here at John 3 is we try, man, all we do is, guys, we want you to get a relationship with Christ. That's it. We don't want you to do anything else. We all work as men. I'm gonna be honest with you, Lisa, the work we do here, it ain't hard. It's not. But what we want the guys to do is to get a real relationship with Christ. Here's the other thing I thought about. I was like, wow, okay, wait. If he's not real, how does a place like this run that we're not getting no government funding?
No.
We're not taking this is just people out of the
No.
goodness of their
I
heart
know.
donating to a ministry to help men that they don't even know. That that to me is like one of the most amazing things that somebody who doesn't even know me, never knew me, never knew my kids, would take their money that they hard earn, they work, they do, and donate to a ministry to try and help some guys.
Humbling.
To get a relationship with
Yeah.
Christ. Yes,
I know.
humbly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
that so important. That's the great thing to anyone who gives to the ministry knows it's Christ-centered. We are hoping that men and women get off drugs and alcohol, but Brian Tuckle's goal every day is that people meet the Savior face to face and they
Yeah.
have an intimate relationship with him. So tell me, since we know there's a difference between following and believing, I mean, the demons believe and they shudder. When did you become a follower then of Christ?
So I accepted Christ, July 21st of 2021 in my
Wow.
room, and I remember that day because I went on a trip with James Ashley, and this craziest thing, he said he described a squirrel. He said, "I'm gonna describe something, I want you to tell me what the answer to it is." And he said, "It's a fuzzy tail, and it collects nuts and everything." I said, "It's a squirrel." He said, "No, the answer is Jesus." He said, "The answer to everything is Jesus." And I was like,
It's
"What?"
beautiful. I've never heard that.
And but I went home to my room that night and I thought about it that day and I said, "If you really are the answer to everything, Jesus, I need you." I really
Mm,
and I wanted to want. So when you just asked me when I become a believer, I became a believer that day. And as far as a
uh-huh,
follower,
uh-huh,
I'm gonna be honest with you, that's been a process. I
mhm,
do know this in May of 2022. I became a true follower of Christ because I
mm,
wrote it down in my Bible. Today is the end of me, Lord, and
mm,
the beginning of you. And I wrote that date down because there are some things I was holding on to. Um, this ministry is not perfect. I'm not
uh-huh,
perfect.
uh-huh,
We're still in this flesh. We get mad. We get frustrated. In April of 22, I had gotten mad at the ministry and thought about leaving. And the Lord stepped in, gave me a sound mind. I didn't leave. Well, that May, the following May, my son-in-law came back in my life, and the Lord revealed to me, it's like, "Hey, if you will just follow me, I'll take care of you,
uh,
but let me
uh,
make the choices, not you, because
uh,
I've made a lot of dumb choices my whole life. And at 51, I was like, or 52 at the point that time, and I was like, I don't want to make any more dumb choices. So I think for sure in May of 2022, I became a full on follower of Christ, and submitted to whatever He's asked me to do. I'll be honest with you, Miss Lisa, man, I'm gonna say it's like it is. I I told the Lord, "Please, you make the decision in my own life because," and I've been stupid, I've been foolish. This is how I talk to myself in my brain. Lord, you know how retarded I am. I make the worst choices out of anybody. I don't want to make those choices. If you want me somewhere, please put your foot on my butt and push me where you want me. I don't want to make no more choices. And everywhere that things have happened in my life and stay here at John 3, He's never once said to me, "You go here." He's always, your calling is right here helping these guys.
mm,
And at 57 now, man, I get a call. We get this all the time as instructors. You get a call that some of you hadn't heard from in a while. And something, I'll give you the story. Me and my brother in California, he's a non-believer. He was not bashing the ministry, but just, "Hey, when you gonna leave that cult?" He just doesn't know. And I'm not gonna cause friction, but when I hung up the phone with him, I felt frustrated. I was angry at first, and I thought, I'm just not gonna talk to him anymore. Well, the very
uh-huh,
next morning, I get a text from old resident saying, "Hey, Bess, I've been sober 2 years." He worked in maintenance. "I've been sober 2 years. I want you to know what you do matters. If it wasn't for
mm.
you and helping me come to know Christ, I wouldn't be the man I am today." It's those type of things that you realize, man, it's all worth it. It really is.
It's
God
absolutely
always
worth it.
shows up every time. Man, especially when you really need him. And I needed him that morning. I didn't even know I did, but I did because I was down thinking my family don't, you know how the devil works, just get the
Are
negative
you
thoughts.
restored to your family now?
Yes, yes, I got two daughters. I've got a son-in-law. Craziest story. My son-in-law is the one who arrested me back in 21,
Is
and
that
he's the
right?
reason I got to John 3:16 Ministries.
From Greenville or Greenwood,
He was
Mississippi, they knew about John 3:16?
Yeah, he didn't. Gosh, it's a long story. So I started dating a girl. My wife passed away in 2018. Just
Mm,
went down the deep end. Just she was
I'm
kind of what
sorry.
held me together. She goes, I go down a deep end, drugs and alcohol, get arrested. When I went to jail, got out of jail, my son-in-law told me if I did right and stayed on the straight and narrow that, hey, I could be a part of their life. And I did good for a little bit, but I met a lady, she's a good Christian woman, and man, just kind of did her wrong in that, told her things like, "Hey, I love you," or this, and that. Man, I was still just that same old guy. And anyways, we broke up or whatever, and one night I get messed up and go to Batesville, Mississippi. That's where my son-in-law works. And because of the drugs and alcohol, my mind was I was pretty out there. Just it's a long story, but actually part went to the FBI office in Oxford, Mississippi, turning myself in for a case they didn't have on me. Just the demons, the voices, just everything
Wow,
that
you wanted help.
Yeah, and, anyway, so my son-in-law pulled me over and said, "Hey, if you don't get out of Batesville, Mississippi, I'm gonna arrest you." Well, I left. Here's I'm a this the neatest part of this story, though. When I left Batesville, I was headed back to Greenwood, and the voices were in my head and all this, and then a voice came across, said, "Hey, there's a place we'll let you live, but it's in Arkansas."
It's
Man, I did
Batesville,
not
Arkansas, not Batesville, Mississippi.
I well, there's my son-in-law works in Batesville, Mississippi,
That's
and when I was
crazy.
headed back to Batesville, Mississippi, I heard voices saying, "We'll let you live in a place in Arkansas," and I did not know John 3:16 was in Arkansas to this day. To me, that was the Holy Spirit saying, trying to
Was.
get me here.
Was.
And anyways, go back to Batesville, Mississippi, get arrested. He arrests me. He's like done
Is he a
with me.
sheriff's deputy then?
He was just a regular, city police officer at the
City police.
time.
Okay.
He's since then become, works for the MB and the Narcotics Bureau of Mississippi, the
Uh-huh.
Northern Division, so
Mhm.
he's doing great. Anyways, that was Monday night that I got arrested. Tuesday morning, I went, pled guilty to a DUI. They released me from jail, and I walked from the jail to a Love's gas station in Batesville, Mississippi, and I didn't have anybody, had no money, no, was gonna be homeless because it just and made a phone call to that ex-girlfriend, asked her if she'd get me some help or something. She gave me Tim Cook's phone number, and Tim Cook's son came through the ministry. He did help me do the phone interview and got me here Saturday, paid for a hotel room, then got me here Sunday, gave me all, here's the thing, gave me all the answers to take for the interview or whatever. Tell him you're going to die. Just do this. Help me. To me, it was the Lord using him to get me in here because I would have, if I'd have been honest, probably wouldn't have got in. Because when they asked the question, do you believe Christ can heal you? Do you believe Jesus Christ can heal you? Truth was no. Do you believe? Do you believe? Do you believe that you are broken enough? You know, I was still holding on to stuff. I mean, I was just praise God for he's not even here anymore. God rest his soul. But Randy Hammonds, he was the guy that interviewed me. If it had been any other instructor, as an instructor, I've seen some of the other interviews. I just know how God worked to get me here.
I understand.
It's truly amazing. It probably take hours for you to go through all of it.
Well, 24 minutes has entertained me and the people listening. And that's it. What can you tell people who are listening right now that think, I don't need that. I'm fine. What can you tell them to encourage them to make the call to John 3:16 Ministries?
Tell you that if you'll look in the mirror and you can honestly, for the first time in your life, answer some questions honestly. Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Do you want something different in your life? You don't know what it is. You know, you're tired of the war raging on inside of you or that deep black hole that's inside of you that you're always trying to fill with drugs and alcohol. Are you tired of lying to your family or to a loved one? Are you just sick and tired of looking in the mirror, knowing that you're better than this, but you can't stop? Well, if that's you, there's a place here in Charlotte, Arkansas named John 3:16 Ministries that's free, doesn't cost you a dime. We'll love you until you can love yourself. We teach Jesus, but the thing is, don't worry about if you don't believe in him because you come in here and you see the real effects of who Christ is, you'll believe something good is going on. You know, a person, loved one, if you've got a loved one and you know that's them and they're not ready yet, I'm going to say this, pray for them. If you're the one that's causing that needs some help, you know, call us at 799-2525. Here's a neat thing about John 3, man. If you can get into a place like this, it's not a rehab. Because, you know, rehabs are once your 6 months or 90 days is over, you know, that your insurance is up,
Release you.
you're
Yeah.
released you. Here at John 3, if you're willing and thankful and a blessing to the camp, and it's not hard to be a blessing at this place. They don't make you leave. They want you to stay as long as you're ready. You know, we don't get any extra. That's the other thing I tell the guys all the time. We don't get government funding. We don't get extra stuff for you staying longer. It actually, if you're looking at worldly view, it costs this ministry resources to keep a person here longer, but we don't care about that. We care about a man or a woman getting a relationship with Christ. So in that, if you know somebody, man, we've got empty beds. We've got empty beds and we've got Jesus here that can change lives.
And we always say on these podcasts, when we post them, share this episode with a friend. You never know who needs to hear it, who has a story like Danny Bess's. And though yours is unique, there's something somebody will identify with that story, Danny.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for doing this podcast. Great job.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the John 3:16 Stories of Hope podcast, highlighting the community at John 3:16 Ministries in Charlotte, Arkansas. Be sure to share the episode. If you need more information, hop on their website, john316thecure.com, or find them on social media.